All right, Adam, so good to see you.
It's so great to see you, Steve. Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks for
yeah.
having me on the podcast.
Yeah. So I want to talk to you a little bit about this festival that you have coming up because, we've been guitar festivals have been a thing for a long time, but I don't think I've ever seen a guitar and mandolin festival. So could maybe go back a little bit, tell us you're teaching at University of Rhode Island, tell us a little bit about that, and then let's go into the festival a bit.
Well, I think the seeds go back before any of this, really, before you or I, and it starts, with our friendship. We've known each other for 20 years now, almost, and
2000, no more.
yeah, oh gosh, that
Yeah,
that reveals our very youthful age.
yeah.
Anyway, we spent time studying with Elliot Fisk at New England Conservatory together, and that was really, I feel like, a great place to study, not only for the classical guitar, but to incubate new and novel ideas, and also to sort of like a priori learn how to make sustainable arts infrastructure. And, you and I both know that Elliot worked by the sort of the heartbeat of going out into the community, championing yourself, being an ambassador for the guitar, for whatever you're passionate about, and just keep on marching. And I think, you and I we've, I think, done that in over these last 20, 25 years, in our individual paths. And I think that's one thing that Elliot really did so well with the students, is find that personal voice, find where that conviction is, and just tell them to keep beating that drum beat.
Yeah. Cultivate it.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and it it was, there's like the learned musician, the enlightened musician, whatever you have, but there's also like the entrepreneurial musician, just the creative one who wants to give back to the community, someone who like cares enough where they want to uh, take their fortunes, their personal fortunes of like having guitar lessons growing up, and give back that gift to the world. So that's something that sort of stuck with me. I mean, at first, I sort of saw community partnerships that were established in my during my master's degree as sort of an appendage. Like they were sort of separate. It's like, okay, this is extra credit.
Yeah.
But what I sort of realized really quickly was that extra credit was actually part of my life, and that would be part of my life forever and ever. And being a classical musician in the 21st century embodied being many different things. Being a scholar, being a performer, being a community organizer, um, being someone who is flexible, agile, um, moving with the times, being technologically savvy. I think we've all had to read Tech for Dummies at one point, and get up to speed on, microphones during the pandemic, computing during the pandemic. Like we've always had to suit up and just like get into action immediately. So I think, when graduating from New England Conservatory, all of us were like, what's next? Like, what do we do with ourselves? Like, how do we grow up? How do we advance? How do we survive
Yep.
this crazy sport?
Yep.
And it's a question that is presented to every single musician as they advance in their career. And so I think, for me, a classical career and where I was going would be a combination of a lot of things, a collage of all my interests. It was never enough for me to be like, well, I'm just going to be a teacher. Oh, well, I'm just going to be a performer, which is impossible.
That's right.
Or, well, I'm just going to do any one thing, but I want to do all of it. And and really, eat a musical pizza that had all the toppings.
Yeah.
Am I hungry right now?
Maybe.
I
We
want,
like
I want
food.
pepperoni. I want sausage. I want cheese. I want some peppers. I want
Yeah.
some banana peppers. Yeah.
Extra
But
sardines. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Extra sardines. Yeah, I know that's not for everybody. But I think, yeah, for me, it was compiling all the things that I was really passionate about, and putting in my backpack, and then going on that big voyage. And um, I think, to speak to the University of Rhode Island, that all began in 2015. And everybody in the classical guitar world knows that procuring a job in academia is really tough. Most of the jobs are taken up, or if
Don't pay
somebody
well.
leaves,
Yeah.
the competition is just it's just rough. And just like competitions. A classical guitar competition. It's a spaghetti toss. You'll win some, you'll lose most. Maybe there'll be a draw.
Yep.
Who knows? But it's the same thing with jobs. And so I was lucky to score a job at University of Rhode Island in 2015. I didn't even know like where University of Rhode Island was. Like, where the heck is Kingston, Rhode Island? And I remember going to my interview, and I didn't know the traffic patterns in Providence. I obviously don't pay attention to my gas levels in my car, and I also don't pay attention. I didn't pay attention to my body levels of a pee, and so so it was the trifecta of having to go to the bathroom, not having gas in my car, and then running into Providence traffic. And at one point, I remember looking at Waze, and it's telling me I was going to be 15 minutes or something crazy minutes late to my interview, which would have been automatic, like, rejected. But like it was as if some higher order had intervened, and I sort of paved my way through that traffic, and I got to uh, Rhode Island screaming, where I was like, "You're a soldier. You're not going to stop. You're going to get to this interview." And I think I got to the interview like I somehow shaved off like 17 minutes or something. I got there at 8:58 and relieved my bladder, picked up my classical guitar, spoke a few words, played, and they gave me the job.
So for some of the student musicians out there, don't do that.
Yeah, that is basically a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
You want to leave with extra cushion amount
Yeah.
of time. You want to know thyself, and you want to, or your body, and you want to make sure your car has gas at all times.
Well, words.
So basically in 2015, Rhode Island was a desert in classical guitar education and infrastructure. I mean, there were some. I mean, there were these little silos here and there, but basically it was a blank canvas. It was an etch a sketch, and it was an opportunity. I saw it as an opportunity to um, create for the first time a durable platform for classical guitar education, make it a destination, and also something that where people could go each and every year and rely on it for their guitar education, for performances, to escape the everyday Sturm and Drang and see a good show, learn something new, exchange some ideas. So that was really where it was, where there wasn't something, build it and they will come. Build the University of Rhode Island Guitar Festival and the audience will come. And the first year, it was a single day. Actually, it wasn't even a festival. It was a symposium.
Yeah.
It was the URI Guitar Symposium, and I remember the program was literally a piece of paper with my Guitar Trio's program on it. And Scott and Matt, we gave master classes in a day, and whoever signed up, that was it. It was wham bam, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
But that wasn't enough for me. So, so from 2015 till now, it's crescendoed, it's evolved, and it's become really dynamic. And we've even rebranded ourselves from being a strictly guitar festival to a plucked instrument festival, and now a guitar and mandolin festival. And you might ask, like, why? I mean, there's so much cool stuff right in the classical guitar. Why do we need to showcase other instruments? And I think the short answer is that, knowing today's like attention spans, people's interests, people get bored. And one of anything, like one kind of anything, gets boring. You want variety. And I think my reasoning behind my rationale is you can depart from the classical guitar, go to the electric guitar, jazz guitar, gypsy jazz, fusion, blues, whatever, or harp, oud, mandolin, whatever, and enjoy these incredible instruments and genres, and then come back to the classical guitar and realize just how special it is, and then you end up wanting more. So and this is like having all this stuff doesn't dilute the classical guitar. I think it actually enhances it even more. So that's yeah. So now we're a 6-day festival. We rebranded. We're it's a major undertaking. We went from a single page program to a 92-page color print program, perfect bound. I know more about like programs than I and design and all that crap that than I ever would have expected myself to know.
Right.
And it's really become like a hotspot for the guitar and plucked instruments,
Yeah.
I'm proud of it.
So I'm gonna post all the links in the description, but I wanna ask you a little bit about some of the artists that are coming up because you have one of our friends, Artyom. Who's he
Yeah,
playing with? Because this is crazy. Because I just want to set it aside. When I went to study in Siena in Italy with Oscar Giglia, that was the first time I heard Artyom, and I just actually he made me want to quit guitar because he was so good, goddamn good at it, right? And so, every time I'm in the room with him, it's like I feel like, oh man, this the road is so much more. There's so much more to travel, and so you have Artyom who's from Russia, and then you have solo duo from Italy, and then you have local artists. But tell us about how who Artyom's playing with, because is that also a chamber music and
so it actually is. It's two soloists that evening. So it is not chamber music. So the first half is Ekaterina Skliar, who is a solo domer player, and then the second half will feature Artyom. Maybe it's not exactly clear online,
okay,
but they will both be playing individually that evening. And Artyom, yeah, I mean, he's a unbelievable musician. I mean, his artistry it's really, really some of the best you'll hear in the business. And you and I think we both sat back and been like, oh my gosh, maybe it's time for another career.
I've said that many times myself. Yeah.
And he's great. I'm really excited. Both you and I, we had sort of some of the most transformational moments in our life with Oscar Giglia,
Mhm.
who is one of the greatest pedagogues of our time, if not the entire history of the classical guitar. And I think it was awesome for us to like come together, like all these people from different countries and destinations, and we came to Siena with our talents and what we had to bring to the table, and it was always something so different. There was not one player that was like another player.
Yeah.
And Giglia, I mean, those master classes, they were just incredible. I mean,
Yeah.
he was a true poet, and we're actually speaking of Giglia, because he passed away earlier this year.
Mhm.
I wanted to commemorate his life and legacy, and so many of his students are across the generations are going to be at the festival, including myself and Elliot and Sharon and
Mhm.
Lorenzo Micheli and Matteo Mella and Artyom, as you mentioned, and different walks of life, and they all have contributed to the rich tapestry that is the classical guitar, and I'm really excited to celebrate Giglia. In fact, we created a brand new Oscar Giglia Legacy Prize, which will be a prize that allows the winner of our Rising Stars virtual competition to create a 20-minute professionally produced video to highlight their talent and career. And I think we were thinking about like what would be a great prize besides just giving hard cash money.
Right.
It's like in these days, even recording a CD is great, but people want to see video. So we thought, we're giving them concerts, which people love. We're giving cash, which people love, and we're giving video, which will help them promote and hopefully get more of the all the above.
Yep. That's right. Now, Is your partner in Dual Montar Jacob Reuven? Is he the one that's running the mandolin side?
Yeah,
Okay.
so Jacob is has been my duo partner since 2017, 18, and that all started because my dad, who is an amateur classical guitarist and mandolinist,
Hmm.
sent me a YouTube link of Yaki, that's his middle name, of Yaki performing a transcription of Eugene Isai's Obsession, his Preludio, which is based on Bach C major. And I had also done a transcription of that, and I was like, "Whoa, this is so cool!" And being trying to be a good mensch, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna write the guy. Screw it. And so I was like, dear Jacob, I just wanted to let you know I thought your playing was incredible. That's it. And so he wrote me back. I think it was like a couple days before the 4th of July. Wrote me back a couple days later. It was like, wow, thanks for the random note. Nobody's really written me like that. He's like, you won't believe this. As chance has it, I received a grant to record an all modern Israeli music project. And it's all fully funded and it's for mandolin guitar. And I don't have a guitarist. And I was like, oh, cool. He's like, you want to be my guitarist? So I was like, well, let's first see how we get along. So he lives in Spain with his wife Marie, who's also a professional mandolinist,
Oh.
incredible mandolinist. And I went to Spain. We spent about 2 minutes practicing, and then the rest of the trip partying and getting to know one another and really living it up. And it's been a one of those moments where you're like, yeah, the stars like sort of aligned. He's become like a brother and a great musical partner, and that was the inception of Duo Montar. And now because and it also it comes out of the necessity to create a classical music program in the United States. We created this mandolin festival that he is now the director of. And so I think in that way the festival is being innovative and creating something that didn't exist before. And we sort of put our lab jackets on last year and we're like, okay, let's experiment with this. You know, who knows what's going to happen? And people freaking loved it. They were blown away at the quality of the students who were coming from abroad. We had Spanish students, Israeli students, we had Nigerian student, we had a couple American students. So, and they played this crazy stuff. It wasn't boom chuck at all. It was like, oh wow, that's possible on the mandolin. Like it was mind blowing. Like, and so we were like, well, it wasn't me and Yaki, but it was like the audience was really freaked out about it. So we had to do something about it. So we rebranded. And Yaki, just to give everybody a little context of who he is. So there is this um, young cadre of classical mandolinists that have come out of Israel. Um, Avi Avital, Jacob Reuven, Alon Sorial. There's a handful of really respected classical mandolinists who are like spreading the gospel of classical mandolin.
Mhm.
And they've it's really sensational. Things that, transcribing Beethoven violin concerto, Tchaikovsky, Brahms, different ensemble combinations, Vivaldi Four Seasons, Piazzolla Four Seasons on mandolin. And you're like, what? How's that possible?
Yeah.
But these guys are freaks, and it's so cool. So yeah, so I found Yaki and yeah, so now he's doing the festival now, and it's sold out. So I mean, I think it's a testament to the need for this classical mandolin platform in the United States. And there is not a single degree program that I know of for classical mandolin.
Mhm.
And so I feel like this is the baby steps that we need to take to establish this in the United States and create this once and for all.
That's interesting. Wow. And I don't think that point should be understated because there was a time where classical guitar wasn't a thing, right? There was
Yeah.
violin and piano and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, so the mandolin basically is at the first stage of like where the guitar was in the 60s
Yeah.
and before. So yeah, no, it's really exciting.
Yeah. That's incredible. Can I pivot a little bit, ask you about the competition as well? Because I
Yeah.
heard that there's a virtual part,
Yeah.
or they're both
So
virtual.
the competitions, you and I both know that, it can be a positive and a negative thing. I mean, it can propel young musicians to new heights. It can also repel musicians to new lows. And so I think it's finding a good balance in which musicians can thrive. We don't have to create a world in which there are 100 first prize winners. We want to create a world in which, like, whether you win, lose, or draw, it's a positive experience, and so you're getting better. And I thought that the pandemic obviously forced us to the virtual world, and I thought that one thing that it allowed us to do at the University of Rhode Island Guitar and Mandolin Festival is separate the competitive, cutthroat nature of things from those who are there just for the pure compulsion to learn.
Mhm.
And so I've kept it that way, with the idea that the ambiance at the festival when you're on the ground, it's encouraging, it's low key. You can come to the festival with very little experience or advanced experience. You can be there as a zygote, or you can be there as a 100-year-old. So it spans. It's truly accessible. So I think that, so I've kept it virtual, and there are two divisions. There's a high school division for 14 to 18 year olds, and then there's a division, young artist division from 18 to 35. It really straightforward. Submit a YouTube video, two contrasting works, and Scott Borg, Dr. Scott Borg, our buddy, he's been the president for as long as I can remember, and there have been great winners across the year. Antran, Bokyong Byon, this year Kevin Lowe,
Mhm.
Kasia Smolarek from Poland, Chinawat. I mean, we've had from
Wow.
everywhere. I mean, it's like actually, I don't think I've actually uttered the winners out loud before. I mean, that's not all of them,
Yeah.
but I haven't like said it out loud. It's an international guitar festival,
Right.
and I think that's really cool. I will say that for the 10th year next year, I am flirting with the idea of bringing the four finalists to campus to duke it out. So we'll see how that pans out. But yeah, so that's basically the Rising Stars virtual guitar competition at the high school and young artist levels.
Well,
And
that's
then
beautiful. Yeah.
we also have the mandolin. I forgot, we're debuting the Rising Stars virtual mandolin competition. So we're going to get some young gun hotshot classical mandolinists participating as well. So they'll be here next year at the 10th anniversary. So
Wow.
pretty cool.
I wonder if
And
there's ever any kind of a like a cross competition. This is just me thinking out loud, right? Imagine like because you know how they have like open categories, people just play whatever and
yeah,
the best performer, not music not instrumentalist, sort of is chosen. Like what do they call those, audience prizes or something like that? And
I mean, I would love to. I want to be as creative as possible with the
yeah,
not with the festival. Well, yes, with the festival, but with the competition, I want to be very sensitive to it. Again, I want the general experience across the board, whether you win, lose, or draw, to be positive. I want it to
yeah,
be a growing experience because, if you catch a student who's sort of tentative about the possibility of making a life out of this, and then they don't win the competition, and then they're they're done for. I don't want that,
yeah,
I really want to give people the lily pads, the emotional lily pads, to succeed.
yeah. Beautiful.
Um, yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Um, and the mandolin that's also virtual, right? The competition.
yeah, both virtual.
Okay.
And yeah, and we also one thing that we debuted, I think this is our third year, is the Composer in Residence program. You and I both love new music
Yeah.
and championing the best of the best of today's composers, which I kind of wish more young guitarists would take that responsibility on, because what I think they don't realize is that without pushing the repertoire further, um, we're going to be stagnant. And we have a relatively small repertoire compared to the piano, violin, et cetera, et cetera. So it's like it really is on us to create. I mean, That's what Bream did. He made his career on new music. And so what, we should be doing that too. And I think when people hear new music, they're like, "Oh gosh, it's squeaky clean, like, avant-garde." And that doesn't have to be that. I mean, some people really enjoy that, and Godspeed, and that there needs to be that crazy language.
Yep.
But there's new music means they're writing now. You can write in whatever language you want. But I think it is important for us to invest in that. And so that's what the Composer in Residence program is. And we've had Eduardo Morales Caso from Cuba and Spain. We've had Avner Dorman, Israeli American. This year we have Hamilton de Holanda, Brazilian Mandolin player, which is like the sister to the mandolin. And yeah, Clarice Assad. So it's cool. I like that aspect, is that we're creating. Hopefully somebody else will play these pieces after we
And
do.
I wanna state one more time. This is your ninth year running a guitar festival.
Yeah, this is not the ninth year, and sorry, almost ran out of breath.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's like Adam's last breath.
Yeah, no,
Steve
no,
show.
yours. No, but that's
Yeah,
incredible. And I want to say, because I'm very happy for your success, and I'm also very happy because you just told me that you became full-time faculty at University of Rhode Island. So congratulations to that.
Steve. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's been an organic crescendo, professional crescendo, and it hasn't been without working my tail off and having to work around obstacles. But I think it's been propelled forward by the good work, and I think it's just a passion to sharing the guitar in all the different capacities, whether it's in the community, at the festival, through my teaching, and all the different facets. I think one of the things that I really want to be better about, like as I grow up, I want to be better about is like I would love a world in which this festival was free to all 100 students that sign up.
Mhm.
It's like no, it's like you put the application in, screen, you get in. It's the red carpet treatment, and that's really what I think what has begun to separate the URI Guitar Mandolin Festival from every other festival is like
Mhm.
for the artist, from the moment you get to campus to the moment you leave, you leave your wallet in your safe deposit box. You are fed, you stay at amazing places, you are completely taken care of. And I think you and we both know like what it feels like when you're taken good care of, and the opposite, which is
Yeah.
those are awful experiences. There's like PTSD around those experiences. So I really want to it's definitely a work in progress, but I think the respect for the performing and teaching artists is really high on my list, and I would like to extend that to students as well, and be able to like offer it with no barriers to access.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Um, so actually that actually brings us to a good segue to your other nonprofit, right?
Oh
Your
yeah, yeah,
guitar
yeah,
project. Yep.
yeah. So Cathar Project actually began in the same year
Oh,
that the festival did, and we're Cathar Project. Yeah, it's a nonprofit organization that's dedicated to improving the lives of young people through the classical guitar. And so we provide all of the amenities, all of the things of a first class education. So guitars, teachers, guest
accessories.
artists,
Yeah.
yeah, accessories, the
Yeah.
whole package. You don't pay, we take care of it. And all they have to, the students have to do is agree to take care of their guitars, practice, and respect their teachers and their family. It sounds pretty simple, honestly.
And where
But
does it take place?
so we started off in 2015 in a small community called Yugalito in Mexico City, and in Alston, Brighton, which is about 10 to 15 minutes outside the city center in Boston. And we flirted with the idea of an exposure model where Matthew Rhode, the co-founder, Scott Borg, and I would just go around the country and the world, trying to bring people momentarily into the world of the classical guitar. But then we quickly realized that's a tease. Like, what are they supposed to do with these wonderful sounds if they can't actually participate?
Right.
So we went from the exposure model to high impact model, a sustainable model, which the burden is on us to provide all these things, teachers, classes, guest artists, all of this stuff for a complete classical guitar education. But it was the only way to go. And so we started, in Boston and in Mexico City, and we expanded to New Mexico, which is where Matt Rhode is originally from.
Nice.
And then just recently, this year in 2024, we added a program in Detroit, Michigan, of all places. And you might be like, what? Wait, I don't know basically anything classical guitar related that happens in Michigan. And that's a good thing to note, because there basically is nothing going on in the classical guitar world in Detroit, Michigan, which was a great entree, a great prelude to filling that need and putting the classical guitar on the map in Detroit. And I have to tell you, I've been going back and forth to Detroit as a soloist in chamber music and some odd projects in Detroit for the last like 12 years. And it is such a cool, vibrant city. It's like the kind of city like weird is cool. And it's so compelling that the food scene, the sports scene, the Midwest hospitality, the pizza. I love deep dish, so I'm obviously a sucker for that. And it's such a cool place. And we bonded with a guy who's a second generation Mexican American who's dedicated to, in simplest forms, to helping the Hispanic community in Detroit. And he and his family are dedicated and committed to helping this school, Holy Redeemer, and so they built out the arts there. There's a church right next door. It's like this ecosystem of community that really works well together. And so we were able to catch that wave, and the patron, he didn't understand the classical guitar, so to speak, but he did understand the transformational qualities of the classical guitar and how it could have an incredible impact on the community. And I'm telling you, I've never seen a community wrap their arms tighter around a program. Like both the donor, the school, the families, the students, it's the full package. And so and on top of that, we were, and this was a major challenge, was because the infrastructure doesn't exist to the extent it does in Boston or in Texas or really anywhere, was finding good teachers.
Mhm.
And so we were racking our brains for nearly 4 years to find really good classical guitar teachers, and we landed on two wonderful teachers, and they've been our champions, and they've been our ambassadors, and they're rooted in Suzuki method. So it's been really great to sort of package the students, the families, and the community together. And so we're off to the races. We're at 30 students there, 130 students program wide from Boston, Mexico City, Albuquerque to Detroit. And it's been really beautiful. I mean, never in a million, again, like I think the life of a musician is taking on the unpredictable. Like one day things are going great, the next day you're floating off to Jupiter on a on a floating car, and the next day you're on the top of Everest playing the Asturias.
Yeah. Can you go into a little bit more detail? What do you mean by this complete package about? So because it's not just, private guitar lessons for 30 students in Detroit, right? There's more programs. Can you go into that?
So we on a weekly basis they get group instruction. They get also private instruction. They also get musicianship classes. They get theory classes. They get the opportunity to hear guest artists that come to visit. Like we'll either take them to a performance at the Boston Classical Guitar Society, for example, or there'll be an artist coming through town, and we'll say, hey, can you do a couple hour workshop and a mini concert? And they'll come in, and we'll hire them to inspire our kids. We'll also try to triangulate the four programs. So I think we're giving these kids a context for like what this all means. Like it's not just like I'm pushing with my left hand to make the note sound. It's like, oh, this is how I can sound someday. Like this is what will happen if I practice. Oh, there's other kids doing this? I thought I was the only one. It's like when you and I were growing up, it was still kind of like a solo sport. Like we were kind of like the freaks in our schools that dedicated our lives to this beautiful thing, but it became the cool thing, and then it sort of like it was bred into the classroom, and now it's like it's all over the place. It's really the classical guitar has gone on a really awesome rampage,
Yeah.
and so anyway, so they get that. We have juried examinations where teachers from other programs will evaluate students at other programs. So that's really cool. And yeah, so it's a pretty true platform for cultural exchange.
Yeah.
I think what's really cool and something that we've been championing and trying to like, it's a good way to sell the classical guitar is it's literally a way to travel around the world without having to leave your seat.
That's
And
right.
so you can be in Brazil, you can be in China, you can be in Japan, you can be in Europe, wherever with the flip of a page or a tap of the iPad, and it's really a cool world. And so it's been, we again, it's I remember Matt, Scott, and I were typing in like nonprofits for dummies, and we're like, how do we do this? I mean, none of us knew anything. And this was not something that we were prepared to do. It was an idea that we were passionate about and needed attention, and it was necessary. Um, and so we did the investigatory work. We created a really stupid budget that was totally idealistic and unreachable at the beginning. I think that our first budget was like $1.4 million. I mean, maybe someday we'll be there. Yeah, I mean, maybe $1 million of it was for private jets.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant.
But it was, I mean, we didn't know anything. But I have to say, we are thriving, and like our 10th birthday is March, I think 23rd of 2025, and so I think we've showcased a valid model for classical guitar education. We've established ourselves as someone dedicated to classical guitar education, and we went from nothing to a $250,000 organization. So it's really beautiful, and it's become, I think it's gone from the Matt Rhode and Adam Levin show to a cause.
Yeah.
It's like this is not about it's like we might at one point have been the faces of Guitar Project, but Guitar Project carries its own weight now.
Mm.
It can sail on its own sails.
Yeah.
But it's not without a lot of work. I mean, it's like the day in and day out requirements to keep it floating are tremendous. It's an unending trench warfare to do this good work, at least in my estimation. But it's been cool. Yeah, I like this little ecosystem of classical guitar that we're creating here in the U.S. and Mexico.
Yeah, I want to
Oh, we
double click
also,
on that last point you just made too, because now once you have a cause, whether it's for something greater, for building a community, for educating the next generation, or even for you're doing this because of your kids. Like it makes the guitar that much easier to play.
yeah, absolutely. No, I mean what's really cool, and it also brings me closer to the mission, is that like I'm seeing my own son, like his sort of like like the shimmer in his eyes as he sees me practice the guitar. I'm like, oh wow, this is actually making an impact. People want to play this instrument.
Yeah,
So,
that's beautiful.
and another cool thing that we completed, it's been a couple years now, but we built our own music school in Mexico City.
Mhm.
We were able to get the commitments of two young hotshot architects, a TO architect firm in Mexico City, and they built this gorgeous two-story. It's a small, modest music school for us, and it was our own music sanctuary that they built, that the community built us, and the skin of or the bricks that they used for the construction of this music school was the rubble from the 1985 Mexico earthquake. So it's ingrained in the DNA of the building. It's a Mexico City music
Is
school.
is that the one that's in the picture on your webpage?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll splice
Yeah,
it
I
in
mean, it looks
for.
like a spaceship.
Gosh,
I mean,
yeah,
it's really cool.
yeah, it's
And,
beautiful.
and I mean, and again, what I'm about to tell you, it hasn't really nothing to do with like our services, but like a sort of a nice added sort of cherry on top of the cake is the music school has won three or four major architecture prizes, and it's been really cool seeing the architects champion as one of their best works. So it's great, and I also liked, that music school represents something that will be here on this planet beyond Matt and I, and will hopefully always house music education. So it's been great from the beginning until now. And into the future. It's I hope a model that the other people will follow um, and chip in.
Yeah. Well, Adam, that's beautiful. I think that's a great place to leave it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me, Steve. I mean, it's
Yeah.
been great. It's been great catching up. I've
I
missed,
know.
yeah.
Yeah. So all the best luck to your festival, to your guitar project, and congratulations on your professorship.
Thanks so much, Steve.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll talk to you soon.
Talk soon.
Thanks, Adam.